80% of nearly 250,000 Afghans forced to flee since the end of May are women and children. This is a staggering statistic. 80%.
We have seen a giant change in who's working and who's not. The headlines have been absolutely everywhere. 865,000 women across the country all of a sudden dropped out of the workforce in September. That's 4 times higher than the number of men. The women weren't laid off, they weren't fired, but they came to that very difficult decision to leave on their own. Our Nina Melhoff dug into why.
And it was just really a sit down and a run of the numbers and what things would look like is really how the decision came to be. And it made sense. He made quite a bit more than I did.
That's how Ray Davenport ended up at home all day with her daughter in Longview, Washington. Ray worked as a children's after-school program manager. COVID hit and she was cut to part-time, so she left her job to focus on helping her daughter with virtual learning.
It's hard. You know, I spent 5 years in the job that I was in. I loved it. I had planned on retiring with that job.
Ray was one of 200 sharing their story when we posted the headline on Facebook. Vicki Huber was another, writing, "I'm sure I'm not the only mother who has chosen to place college education on hold due to helping their children with distance learning. This will be felt for years." Or Trudy, "I left a great job, my dream job actually, to work with my kids through online schooling. Hardest decision I've ever made." The 4 top reasons why women are leaving the workforce. Number 1, being home for kids doing online school. 2, feeling burnout, juggling work, housework, and kids being home. 3, negative feeling about job performance under so much pressure. And 4, their partner makes better money, so they keep working.
Well, it's not a surprise.
Amy,
where service jobs have disappeared, paying rent has become impossible for many. Eviction moratoriums offer limited protections in this city, where weak renters' rights and a severe lack of affordable housing has created chaos, particularly for Black women. New Orleans had a high rate of eviction before COVID-19, but is now suffering a kind of displacement not seen since Hurricane Katrina.
We live in a city where we know that 57% of everyone being evicted were Black women, were mothers, were sisters, they were aunts, they were grandmothers. People need access to homes in order to do.
Medellin, Colombia, a city made famous by one man, the drug baron Pablo Escobar. For over a decade, he ruled these streets through extreme violence. In the 90s, shootings, car bombings, and random murders made it by far the most dangerous city in the world. Escobar is long dead, but the years of chaos have left the darkness in Medellin's soul. I have been following Colombia's drug wars for 15 years. In that time, most of the violence has moved to Mexico. But this city is still suffering from its narco legacy.
Medellín es famoso por su... Y es famoso por las mujeres bonitas y viene mucha gente a conocer mujeres bonitas y a tener turismo sexual.
For years, the easy cash of the drug trade has fueled a huge sex industry. Even the taxi drivers are in on it.
Yo le demuestro. Todas estas chicas, vean. Las puedes ver de meter de manejo desde 200.000 pesos. Tienen un apartamento. Ya se contactan y se van al apartamento de ellas.
They say here, if you put a roof on Medellin, it would be the largest brothel in the world. This is Medellin's red light district. Daniela has been walking these streets for 5 years, since she was 11. Prostitution is legal here, but the age of consent is 18.
donde llegan chinos, llegan brasileros, europeos, extranjeros, de todo, toda clase de hombres.
¿Buscando niñas menores de edad?
Menores de edad y hasta más. No le gustan las niñas de 16, 17, sino de 11, de 10, de 9. Sí.
But some visitors aren't satisfied with just young girls. Pablo Escobar famously liked sleeping with virgins. Now, for a premium price, sex tourists can do the same. As the drug trade fell away, the gangs that control these barrios look for a fresh source of income. This shocking new trade means mothers all across Medellín live in fear.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
¿Qué más pues?
¿Cómo te va?
Bien, bien, gracias a Dios.
Milenguita's daughter is just 11 years old.
¿Y tú cómo te llamabas, perdón?
Natalia.
Natalia, qué bonito nombre.
But her mother says the gangs already have plans for her.
Solo me dijeron que ella estaba candidata, que era muy posible, pues, que se la llevaran y de lo que le interesa es una niña virgen, una niña seria. ¿Qué más que una niña cristiana? Entonces ellos son inteligentes, ellos saben a qué van. Entonces ellos dijeron, bueno, no ahora, pero ya su niña pues está vista.
¿Tú has hablado con tu hija acerca del tema?
No, pero sí le he dicho que se cuide mucho, que si alguien la llama que no haga caso, que si alguien le va a dar dinero que no, que si la van a montar a un carro que grite.
Getting pinched by police, prosecuted for plying their trade. But advocates are fighting to end America's prohibition on prostitution.
There's no disagreement that I'm aware of that people in prostitution, primarily women, should never be criminally prosecuted.
Zola Bruce agrees. Zola has an Ivy League master's degree, teaches at John Jay College in Manhattan. Oh, and works in the sex industry.
I do bondage, submission, dominance, masochism, sadism. Sex work is like many other jobs. Some people love it, some people hate it.
But where Zola sees sex work as economic opportunity, others see exploitation.
I think the term itself, sex work, is a little bit problematic because it really just sanitizes what's going on here, which is the commercial exploitation of women's bodies.
She's hoping for a crackdown on sex traffickers and others.
Pimps and Johns have long escaped with impunity for all of this.
If we're going to criminalize our patrons, then that's just going to push us further underground. There is a difference between adult consensual sex work and a sex crime. And I think that unfortunately people constantly are conflating the two. Zola's pushing for full decriminalization of the industry. Right now, it's only legal in Nevada, in brothels in a couple counties. In 2018, when we visited the Bunny Ranch, the brothel made famous in HBO's show Cat House, critics had put the question of legality on the ballot.
This is really modern-day slavery. The illegal sex trade and the legal sex trade are inextricably linked. We know that that wherever a jurisdiction legalizes prostitution, that the incidence of illegal sex trafficking skyrockets.
But the late Dennis Hoff, self-described pimp, argued his 4 brothels had a $10 million impact on the local economy. And Ruby Ray, who then worked at the Bunny Ranch, told me her job as an independent contractor gave her financial independence.
I get as much or as little vacation time as I want. I can take care of my own health insurance.
Their argument succeeded. The referendum failed. Now, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Senator Elizabeth Warren are speaking in support of ending penalties for prostitution.
For me, it's about just making sure we have the right tools to prevent trafficking, but I generally am of the view that people have dominion over their own bodies.
And Zola says legalization makes sex work safer. Other advocates we talk to say the goal isn't making the industry safer, but ending that trade altogether. Shep?
Contestant. Business owners near the 32nd Street Naval Station are fed up with prostitution in their neighborhood. Welcome back. I'm Jesse Pagan.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. As News 8's David Goffredson reports, Women working the street and Johns appear to be operating at all hours, even in daylight. And we do want to warn you, this story does contain mature subject matter.
This part of the town just isn't America's finest city.
This video may look like it was shot on El Cajon Boulevard in the 1980s, but it's happening here and now. In Barrio Logan, along Dalbergia Street, right across from 32nd Street Naval Station. Prostitution in broad daylight. Women flagging down cars, talking to Johns, getting inside, and driving away.
Every day, girls back and forth. Guys come and pick up all the time.
Nearby business owners say they've seen it all, including all-out brawls in the street and lewd acts in public.
You see people having sex here on the street, and you cannot do much. You say, oh my gosh, again?
San Diego police are certainly aware of the activity. Take a look at this cell phone video, where a woman gets into a car right before a police cruiser pulls up behind her. The man in the car sees the officers, and it doesn't take long for the woman to hop out of the car and walk away.
There's no respect for people driving cars. Like, if you're coming down the street, they will block your way.
This business owner wanted to remain anonymous. He says customers have refused to come into his business because of prostitution activity on the street.
They have certain people working in the morning, the noon, the afternoon. I know that sounds like it can't be true, but it is absolutely true.
The acting lieutenant of the San Diego Police Vice Unit told News 8, officers have issued several misdemeanor citations in the area as part of a 3-month operation aimed at cleaning up the neighborhood. But it doesn't appear to be working.
They say they can't do anything unless they catch them in the act. That's just the old story.
News 8 approached one of the women on the street, but she did not want to be interviewed. You have anything to say? I work at Channel 8.
All the is you following me, bro?
We're doing a story.
Get your camera off me.
All right.
Sue your
The business owners tell News 8 many of the Johns appear to be coming from Naval Base San Diego right across Main Street. And the problem seems to get worse on military paydays.
I heard they're charging like $150, $100, whatever. They're giving away.
The Navy emailed News 8 a statement saying the solicitation of prostitution is a violation.
Like $150, $100, whatever. They're giving away.
The Navy emailed News 8 a statement saying the solicitation of prostitution is a violation of the Code of Military Justice and, quote, the Navy conducts mandatory annual training for every sailor on the significant risk trafficking poses for victims and the legal and professional consequences faced by those who participate in such activities. But consequences aside, business on the street still seems to be booming. San Diego City Councilwoman Vivian Moreno told News 8 her office has been receiving complaints about prostitution in this area since 2019. She is now encouraging business owners and residents to contact her office as she is working with police to address this public safety risk.